Hello and welcome to today's show. I'm Jamie Smith, Cancer Control Specialist with the Kentucky Cancer Program and your host for today's show. I'm joined today by survivors of cancer. Chances are you or someone you know has been affected by cancer. And today we're here to talk about survivorship and the celebration of life. Right now I'm joined by two breast cancer survivors, Kathy A. Lott and Gladys Hickman. And I'd first like to start off with you all just kind of telling about your personal story of cancer. Kathy, would you like to start?
Sure. Jamie, I was diagnosed in 1998, around Christmas time actually, and I am a breast cancer survivor. I found a lump about the size of a golf ball actually in my right breast, and I went for a mammogram, and they told me there that I probably, that things looked pretty suspicious, so they sent me right on to the surgeon, and we got a biopsy done, and I kept that a secret till after Christmas because well, there was a lot of things going on during Christmas, as you can imagine, and then my daughter was pregnant, and I didn't want to upset the apple cart, so I didn't tell everyone till after Christmas, so I kept it to myself a little bit. In January, I had surgery, and I did have not any involvement with the lymph nodes, which was a great thing. And I also had 4 chemo treatments, and that lasted about 4 months. And here I am.
Well, good. You know, I know you personally, but you know, you're one of the people that have really been a positive influence on my life as well. I love to be around survivors and to see those people that just live life to the fullest and are so optimistic, and you're one of those people in my life. But you know, it's amazing that you would keep that from your family just so you know you don't disappoint them during Christmas or to bring it down. And so you know, it's amazing the impact that you've made on so many people's lives, but for you to be able to do that and remain cheerful, I'm sure, during the holiday season, you know, I'm sure your family probably was really maybe got a little upset with you, didn't they?
Yes, they did. They weren't real happy with me, but I think that gave me time to kind of get a grip on it all. That's and you know, ready to face the music, so to speak. So yeah. I did fine.
Well, that's just fabulous. And Gladys, do you want to tell us a little bit about your personal story? Yours is a little unique, right?
Yes. I was I wanted to go and get a breast reduction at Vanderbilt. And I went down on May the 20th of 2008, and I had the reduction, and then I went back for a post-op visit on May the 28th, and my doctor told me at that time that he had taken out a lump during the breast reduction and that it was malignant. He had sent it to pathology and it was malignant, so he said, "You have breast cancer," and I was in total shock because I had no idea, because I'd had breast mammograms all my life since I was 18, and I'd had one right before my breast reduction surgery, and so I had no idea. And my husband was shocked too, but my doctor just sent me on to Dr. Kelly at Vanderbilt, and he said, "We're just going to put you in here on June the 3rd, and we're going to do a lumpectomy or maybe a mastectomy." And I said, "Okay, whatever you need to do." And everything turned out well because I only had to have a lumpectomy. And I'm here, and I feel so blessed because if I had not had that reduction, then I would have that still living in me and not knowing about it. So,
So it was a blessing in disguise.
Yes, very much so. Yes.
But that'd be a little nerve-wracking going back for a post-op, and you didn't even know then that he had taken out a lump at all during the procedure.
No. And in a way, I'm glad that he didn't tell me because I would have worried about it.
Right.
But I was completely surprised. But I had very good care down at Vanderbilt, and my doctor was Dr. Bruce Shack. He was the one who he was the plastic surgeon that did my reduction. He did a fantastic job, and my oncology surgeon, he's Dr. Kelly, and he did a great job. And then I go to Dr. Handy, who is my radiation oncologist.
So obviously then you've become pretty close to your medical team down there.
Oh yes, very much so. They do all my mammograms now.
Okay, and do you think that played a big part in how comfortable you were whenever you heard the words cancer?
Oh yes, oh yes. I knew I was in good hands down there. I felt really good with the nurses, the doctors, everybody. So I love it down there.
Good.
Yes.
Good. 'Cause, Kathy, you may kind of talk a little bit too. Don't you think a lot of the survivorship, when you hear that word cancer, a lot of it has to do with the faith that you have in your medical team and how well you feel comfortable around them?
Yes, I think it definitely has a lot to do. I tell a lot of folks that that I see and I know are going through things that are similar to what I went through, because
Right.
having faith in your doctors. I had Dr. Howard as my surgeon and Dr. Winkler is my oncologist, and I had a great deal of faith in both of them. So that means a
Good.
lot.
Good. And then, so you stayed here locally and you went away, so we have two different perspectives on that.
I had my radiation here,
Okay, good.
and Dr. Locken did that.
All right. Now, do you all have any family history of cancer in your family at all?
I don't have any direct family history, no. I have a lot of cancer in my family, but no breast cancer.
Okay.
So this was kind of a new experience. And I was actually not too worried about it at first when I found it, because a lot of the family has had nodules or lumps that were suspicious but turned out to be nothing at all. So that's the way my family history is.
Okay. All right. What about you, Gladys?
Well, we also had a lot of cancer in our family, but no breast cancer except for a third cousin, which I think that probably doesn't count. But she was diagnosed at 39, but
Wow.
she thinks hers is environmental rather than hereditary
Anything
or
else?
anything. Yeah.
Okay. There's definitely so much mystery that lies behind cancer and what can cause it and what can't. So, you know, a lot of times we don't know. With breast cancer, though, we do have some genetic tests that are available now, so that's good news, and definitely a lot of advancements that's been made with breast cancer.
Let me tell you something too.
Okay.
Whenever I was down at Vanderbilt, they went ahead and did an Oncotype DX test on me, and that helped them to decide whether or not I would require the chemo along with the radiation. And when my test came back and it was only a 12, then they said, no, we feel like you'll be okay without the chemo. And that was the only reason I didn't have it, because my lump was 1.1 centimeters, which is right over the line. And so they said it wasn't necessary after all. So I'm really pleased about that too.
Yeah, I bet. I
Yeah.
mean, that's great too, because before we talk about some breast cancer survivors in the past that it was just a radical mastectomy, you know, years ago. So it's definitely come a long ways with treatment and what's available now to people that are diagnosed. Let's talk a little bit about your support system. So you actually kept your support system in the dark.
Just for a very short
For
time.
a little bit.
Yes, I have a very strong support system. I have my family was just so supportive of me, and then I have a strong church family, and they were also great support for me.
Good, good. What about you, Gladys? What is your support system consist
Well,
of?
most of my family lives out of town.
Okay.
My husband was fantastic. He was at my side the whole time. And then, of course, I have CancerPort. And I love CancerPort. That is, I thank God for them every day.
And that's a local breast cancer
Yes, it
support
is.
group.
And I love them. And it's a lot of fun. We do a lot of activities, and we meet once a month. And I love it. So,
Good.
yes, that's been great too.
It's nice to be able to interact then with others that have gone through the same
It sure is.
issues that you've had to deal with.
It helps a whole lot.
Yeah, and it's nice too sometimes when I'm around the ladies that you're involved with, you know, to have the humor side to
Yes,
it.
yes.
It makes a big difference when you can add some humor.
We have an excellent time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it with survivorship, a lot of times you see those people with the really positive attitudes and the way that they look at it. You know, it seems like they kind of have an easier time at some points during the treatment because of their, you know, friendships, and also their faith pulls them through. So that's a good little side note. So let's talk a little bit then. I've mentioned that my guests today have the positive side of life, you know, whether your cup's half full or half empty, you know. And so you guys are definitely a half full. And so what makes you stay that positive and have that outlook on life?
Well, I've always been sort of the optimistic person in the group, so that always has kept me going. But since my diagnosis, I have been involved even more in Reach to Recovery. It's a program that I'm involved with, where If someone is diagnosed with the breast cancer, I'm notified, particularly if it's someone in my area or close to my age, and I give them a call or make a visit and take them some supplies and just give them some support, encouragement, that kind of thing, and that's really meant a lot to me. And then after that, I got involved in Relay for Life, of course, and that I can just spread the word any way I can to let people know that it's not a death sentence,
Right.
and that there is life after being told you have cancer.
Good. And if anybody's interested, they know somebody that's diagnosed with breast cancer and perhaps they want a visit, then they can contact the local American Cancer Society
Yes.
office or the 800 number. Do you want to give that number out? Do you remember it?
No.
1-800-ACS.
1, 2, 3, 4.
2, 3, 4, 5.
That's
Yeah.
it.
They've changed it. So we want everybody to know that that's available to them, and it's free of charge, correct?
Right, it
Everything
is.
you do is free, what you give them. So definitely utilize those programs that are out there for people because, you know, sometimes you just can't get enough support when
That's
you're going
right.
through. And to be able to have that one-on-one contact will make a big difference. Now, Gladys, you like to make baskets, right, for people that are diagnosed?
Yes, I do, because I like to let them know that I care and that there's someone there, and also you're never alone once you're diagnosed, and we're just I guess you could call it a little sorority.
Yeah.
And I just want them to know that if they ever need anything, give me a call, and I hope they do, you know, if they ever need anything.
So ladies, as we sit here and talk, maybe there's somebody out there today that's never had a mammogram, and obviously those can save a life, to be able to go to the doctor's office and be able to discuss that. So what advice would you give a lady that's out there that may be just a little bit scared on getting that mammogram?
Well, I worked at a local health department for 30 years, so I was no stranger to hearing the word prevention. So prevention is the cure. I mean, it's the cure, so to speak. I guess
Right.
you would say, is the answer to a lot of things if you get things caught
Early.
soon enough. And as far as mammography is concerned, they do not hurt. You hear all these horror stories, and it's not that bad, and they're improving that all the time. So it's always a good thing for prevention. You can't I can't express that enough, that it is important.
Good, thank you. And Gladys, any advice you have for any ladies out there?
Get your mammograms every year.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, very important.
Good. And what other advice would you have for anybody out there, maybe a loved one, that they have their spouse or a family member, mom, daughter, maybe just recently diagnosed? What advice would you give them for them to add support to that person newly diagnosed?
Well, I have recently had an aunt, my mother's sister, who was diagnosed in the last year, and I was right there for her and for her daughter as much as I could. She lives away from here, and just to be there is as good as anything. I think is just to know that you have someone you can talk to,
Right.
and again, that support is very important. Locally, in Ballard County, we don't have a cancer port or anything, but there are a number of us that are cancer survivors, and we get together and talk many times. You know, over
Good.
the years we have.
Good, good. Gladys, anything that really your husband did for you that helped you more than anything?
Well, he was just there, and anything I needed, he would do. I don't necessarily want to get into details,
Yeah.
but it was so important to me that he was available and able to help me, and anything I wanted, he did. So
He
I'm
just
very
made
grateful.
You keep feeling beautiful.
Oh,
didn't he?
yes. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
Good,
And I
good.
love him for it.
Good, good. I'm sure he knows that as well.
Yes, yes.
We're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and visit with 2 other cancer survivors and hear their stories and what advice they have for you as well. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back to today's show. Today we're talking about cancer survivorship and what that means to a lot of people in our community. And now I'm joined by two more cancer survivors, Miss Judy Pugh and Brother Gregory Waldrop. And so now we're going to let you all have a chance to tell your stories, and we're anxious to hear what all you have to tell us. So Judy, you want to start out with yours? Yours is a good story. I like it.
All right, I'll tell you my story. Started when I was having stomach problems. By the way, I'm a lung cancer survivor. I was having some stomach problems, so I went to the doctor and he was going to do a scan on me. And they did the scan, and thank God for this little boy that was there. He went up just a little bit too high. He was new, and he went a little too high, and he found this mass. And so they asked me to come back in for another scan, only this time it was on my lungs. And at that time, they found a mass of almost 3 centimeters and 19 lymph nodes that were involved in my lungs. And that's the story of how my cancer was found.
Okay, and then what kind of treatment did you have for that?
I had my lung removed, most of my lung removed, 6 chemo treatments, and I'm still under close observation right now. But I just thank God that my Lord Jesus Christ is my master, and he was my surgeon and my healer.
That's good.
And I thank God for that.
Good. What about you, Brother Gregory? Tell us a little bit about prostate cancer survivor.
I am a prostate cancer survivor, 3 years. And it began really with my brother, younger brother, who discovered prostate cancer out of the blue. Though looking back, my grandfather probably died of prostate cancer.
Okay.
But he discovered prostate cancer. He went to Johns Hopkins and had a great prostatectomy. They removed the prostate and had great issues afterwards. Everything worked well.
Good.
A year later, all of a sudden my PSA shows up a little elevated. I'd been taking my PSA regularly, and it elevated. The doctor wasn't alarmed about it because it was just a little elevated. However, given what I'd just gone through with my brother, I said, I'm not, let's pursue that, and he was happy to pursue that.
Yes.
And in fact, all the way through, my medical care and attention has been unbelievable.
Great.
At any rate, the biopsy came back with a prostate gland riddled with cancer.
Okay.
And immediately the folks at Johns Hopkins, my brother and I were relatively young to have this prostate cancer, and so they were interested in both of us. They're ongoing in all sorts of research. So quickly they made a place for me in the schedule, and I had prostatectomy also at Johns Hopkins again June the 6th in 2007, with no further treatments required after that.
That's good. So yours was relatively found early, obviously.
It was not as early as my brother's. I was thrilled that I had gone on and done it. There, obviously the big issue about prostate cancer is having it erupt and go through the gland and then spread somewhere else. Mine had, in fact, gone into the outside of the gland, but it had not gone, or it has not. We haven't found any trace of it anywhere else at this point. So,
well, thank goodness you had him go ahead and check that out further.
I was thrilled.
Good. And now, so he's had some family history. Judy, let's talk a little bit about your family history. It's a little unique.
It is unique. I have a long history of lung cancer in my family. As a matter of fact, I just lost my brother in September to exactly the same lung cancer that I had. And my mother passed away 6 years ago with a dual lung cancer, the same as my father's and the same as that I have. And I lost my father 3 years ago in December to the lung cancer that I have. So we have a long history of lung cancer, and they do think it's hereditary in my case.
Right.
Of course, my family smoked, and I think that made a big difference, but they also think it has to do with genetics also.
And because you never did smoke.
I did a little when I was a teenager. You know how teenagers
Right.
do, but I don't think you could call it smoking. I think you
Right.
could just maybe call it being a teenager.
Experimenting. a little.
Experimenting a little. That's correct. But no, not tons of it. So.
Okay. And then let's talk a little bit about your all support system as well. And Judy, you've got a pretty good guy by your side,
Oh,
don't you?
yes, I do. Praise God. First of all, Lord
Right.
was my one support, my main supporter. But my husband, I can't say enough about my husband. He's such a lovely man. He's funny. And I'm going to tell you, there's been times during chemo that I said, I'm never going to do this again. And he would just pat me and say, it's okay, honey, we won't do it again. Knowing all along we was going to do it again. But he would drag me to the bathroom and just whatever needed to be done. My husband was right there. And he's not a dandy of a cook, but I guarantee you I ate. So he made sure of that. So I had wonderful support.
Good.
And I also had support through my sisters and my son. My son was wonderful. He stayed with me 2 or 3 weeks because that was quite a lengthy stay in the hospital for me. And so I've just had so much good support, and I belong to a cancer support team in Memphis. I do quite a bit of work there, and I just love doing it because God left me here for a reason, and I think that was my reason.
Okay, good. What about you, Brother Gregory?
It's interesting. I was diagnosed. I found out I had cancer on the Ides of March, 15th of March, and that was a Friday. And on Sunday, obviously, on that Friday, my family gathered around, and we sort of looked each other in the eye, and you know, had those sort of moments you have when you everybody's facing something that we weren't expecting, and hugged each other and promised to get through it, however it went. And on Sunday morning, I announced it to the church as well, and I couldn't have been more fully received. I was startled really at how many men came up and put their arm around me and said, you know, I've wrestled this for 15 years or 20 years or whatever. It obviously quickly spread through the community, and again, I was met with enormous support. I had incredible medical community support. Within 2 weeks, I had gotten all the testing that I needed to have done. Some of it at Johns Hopkins, much of it here in Paducah as well. Complete interactions and cooperation between the physicians here and the physicians in Johns Hopkins, and a great collegiality there. I couldn't have been better cared for. When on Ides of March, I felt really small, and I felt cancer was really big. And by the 29th of March, when everything was sort of settled and we had a way forward, I felt like, number one, I was standing on this big group. Obviously, my family, the intimacy of my family, but the church and the medical community. I mean, I really was straddled those two enormous support groups, and I felt like I was looking cancer eye to eye. I wasn't as small as I was, and it was incredible. I really, from the 29th of March on, I really felt like it was a fair fight because of the support that I had. It really did. It mattered that much.
So obviously with the two of you, God plays a major impact on part of your survivorship, and then as well as the steps that you take now to help other people. God is always at the center of that with you all. And Brother Gregory, what do you see as a pastor of a church here in Paducah? Do you see more now as people are diagnosed that those people are referred to you for some support and counseling?
At least 2 a month. Either are referred or they've heard about it and want to talk to me about it. They have a high PSA, or have found something with a digital rectal exam and are uneasy about just how to go and what to do, or even whether to go proceed on, and where to and all the options. And I'm thrilled to be a part of that. I was fortunate. Again, my brother had sort of prepared the way, and I ended up being operated on by the surgeon who really pioneered most of the. Pat Walsh was the 25 years ago. He had the first successful prostate surgery, and has really pioneered a lot of that. And it has the book that I think everybody refers to, this Surviving Prostate Cancer book. And so I feel like those kind of opportunities mean that is part of my gift, part of what I have to offer to this community and to the people I know. And I try to, you know, about the third question after their name and what they do is, what's your prostate PSA score? You know, that's about the third question I ask my men buddies. But I know there's been some, you know, some confusion in terms of whether to go ahead and keep the regimen of prostate exams up, even among, you know, I have a cousin who's a physician, and he sort of said he was sort of in the middle of just wondering just quite how to keep that up. But I am a firm believer, because my brother, prostate cancer had nothing to do with an elevated PSA, his discovery. It was entirely from a digital exam. And mine, however, could not be recognized by touch. It was completely from the PSA, an elevated PSA. Again, and Dr. Walsh is clear that while 4 is sort of the PSA number that most people operate on, he's really pushed it back to 3, anything over 3. And really, he's encouraging people to look at the change in the PSA score as much as in the level of it.
Right. And so obviously the important thing is for that person to be able to be educated about all the options that they have.
Right.
And so we appreciate you being a supporter of that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I've had several people do several different options besides prostatectomy, and all with great success.
Okay. And Judy, what about you? What advice would you give somebody? Obviously you knew something was not right in your body.
The first thing I want to tell everybody is do not smoke. Do not smoke. My cancer is smoke related, and I think a lot of lung cancer is. But I just would say have your checkups. Please have your checkups. That's the most important thing. You know, people, they'll wait. I hear people say 5 years they don't have checkups. You know, if you feel something in your body that doesn't feel right to you, your body is telling you something's wrong. And the one thing with me is I always tell people, don't, if you go to one doctor and he says, well, I didn't find anything, don't take one doctor's decision. If your body's telling you something, you go on till you find out what your body's trying to tell you.
Thanks for your advice, and thanks for joining us today, and
You're
special
very
thanks
welcome.
to Kathy and Gladys as well for sharing their story. And if you have any questions about today's show, feel free to call us at our office at 442-1310. Thanks for joining us today.